Oh my goodness. Oh, it's what is today? You'll notice I have no. I'm assuming am I live? I don't even know if I'm live. I'm presuming I'm live. Things tell me I'm live. So hopefully I'm live. This has been a nightmare. It's been a nightmare. I suppose that's par for the course. Par for the course when I've been away. When I've been away, the gremlins will play, and the gremlins have been active. Melon, usually my streaming app has been Melon of late, and Melon, Melon, thank you, Slicarius, for letting me know that somebody's here. Melon app went down moments before. I'm literally getting ready just to log in. I'd set everything up, getting ready to log in. Suddenly, it's down. And at first I'm thinking, is it me? Am I doing something? What have I done? What have I done wrong, Melon? Why have you forsaken me? And then after doing some checking around, no, it is not down. It's just, or I'm not, I'm up after restarting, after doing all kinds of stuff, making sure I was okay. No, it turns out it was Melon. So I'm on YouTube and I just streaming from OBS and YouTube because I've been using Melon to kind of do multi-streaming. So unfortunately, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. Sorry guys, you are out. You're out today. It's just gonna be the YouTubers, YouTube folks, and myself. That's about all I've got. So let's just get into it before I waste even more time. Whoops. There we go. Here to look at the EZD6. EZD6 system. I believe Frederick Work sent this to me. If you didn't, Frederick, I apologize. He sent me a bunch of, sent me so much stuff. I occasionally lose track of it. This one seemed pretty cool. I mean, they all seem cool. It's just a matter of where I landed today as I was looking around for stuff to do. I'm always interested in, alternative systems. I think this one is kind of OSR adjacent if you care about such things. I think, but of course, as with all this stuff, haven't looked at it. We're just going to be getting into it right now. So I guess just let's get into it and let's see where we come out on everything. This is published by Runehammer Games. EZD6 Fantasy Mayhem. Writing and game design by Scotty, DM Scotty McFarland, art by Sean Bova, layout and rat catching by Brandish Gilhelm. And this was published, I guess, 2022. So this might be new. You know what? Let me go into full screen. There we go. No reason to waste real estate. No reason to waste real estate on goofy UI elements. I'm not sure how much we'll get into. Hopefully a bunch. Looks like we've got about 110 pages, but seems like some of the handy bits are maybe your kind of appendices tables. I'm not going to read everything word for word, but I'm trying to concentrate on the stuff that I think is most interesting. Of course, if you disagree with me or I missed something, shout it out and we'll try to go over there and cover that. So we got some table of contents. Get rid of that little pop-up. Thank you. Why EZD6? Greetings, friends and fellow crafters. Welcome to EZD6. This game sprang from a practical need at my game table. My wish was a smooth-running RPG system that avoided the pitfalls of constantly looking up rules, complex character sheets, excessive tracking, and spells that read like stereo instructions. So in other words, I wanted a game that dropped all the in-game mechanical distractions, yet had enough rules to arbitrate a great story created by everyone at the table. You know, the good stuff. Think about your own games and how much the immersion of the game is broken by constant rules or bookkeeping interruptions. As I began to playtest the game, I noticed something I had not with other systems. With no rules, breaks, the game runs faster and players get pumped and excited as the action runs wild. I have seen the epiphany on players' faces as they realize a game doesn't have to be bogged down by number crunching and clever abstract systems. Simplicity is the key to freeing the imagination. Nation. And we have a note. Hey guys, Scotty here. Are you being wrangled into learning and playing a new game and don't want to fiddle with rules? If so, jump right to the how to make your pusher and shover, aka your hero section, and make the person forcing you to play this game explain the rules. But if you do want to learn, press on. There's lots of fun ahead. All right, great. Nice illustrations. Layout is cool. Let's skip this part of the intro. We've got some, I guess, some of their terms. The rabble rouser is the referee or the GM. And then players are called pushers and shovers. Not sure what the, I'm kind of curious what the significance of calling them pushers and shovers is. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. So let's get into it. The core mechanic. Player states to the rabble rouser what they want their hero to do. The RR will tell the player the number they have to roll on a 6-sided die to succeed. For example, if a hero wants to stab an enemy with their blade, the rabble rouser asks the hero to roll a 3 or more on the d6. If the player rolls less than a 3, they fail. Otherwise, they succeed and harm the enemy. It is as simple as that. Is the task easy or hard? The rabble rouser will decide on the number you must meet or beat for success. The range is between 2 and 6, as 1 is always a failure. Higher numbers are for harder tasks. The chart below details difficulty ratings. So this is your kind of no-brainer. I mean, I think if we've played OSR games, D6 games, we're going to be fairly used to this. I do like that they're breaking out, letting us know the difficulties. So an easy task, you have to roll 2 or more. Normal task, 3 or more. Hard, 4 or more. Very hard, 5 or more. Super hard, 6 or more. Keep in mind that a 1, always a failure. So on easy, it doesn't really matter. I guess it really doesn't matter on all of them because 1's always going to fail. Right? So it doesn't actually affect the odds much. Having that 1 auto fail, because 1 in this thing is always going to fail because you have to at least roll a 2 even on easy. For most combat situations, you will need to roll a 3 or higher to hit your target, and the enemies will need a 3 to hit you. So about a 50% chance. The rabble rouser will use lower or higher numbers for special circumstances. I gotta say, I don't know if I love the term rabble rouser. Just not that it's a bad term. They're all whatever. They're all, hey, everyone's got to make up their own name. But I feel like just for reading it out loud, I'll probably just say referee. Just a little bit easier on my vocal cords. Knowing what difficulty to set for any given task is a key skill for any ref. This number might be written in your notes before play, determined by a die roll, or just decided by feel. The difficulty level might even change during a scene as the environment dictates. Go with your gut. My gut says it's lunchtime. What about differences between players? In many game systems, you build heroes with attributes and skills represented by numbers. These systems slow down play because you often need to reference the numbers on your hero sheet or add them to your dice rolls. In EZD6, the stats are replaced by a simple mechanic called a boon. Training is a boon. The EZD6 system easily addresses differences in heroes by simply applying an additional die to a roll, or boon, to tasks where the hero may have special training. So when rolling for a train task, you roll 2 dice instead of 1 and keep the highest result, aka you've got advantage. This little difference lets players train all kinds of things to double their chances of success. Rolling to beat a 5, it's a lot easier with 2 dice than 1. Hey, War Bunny. And Raid LC says, referee is my preference as well. GM works fine too. Yeah. Rabble rouser, I don't know. It's something to do with the alliteration and everything. Just makes it a little bit, sticks on my tongue a little bit. So just for speed of speech, probably stick with ref. And we have a box text. I am Roderick, the coolest hero ever. Thanks to a long, storied career as an adventurer and all-around great guy, I am proficient with every weapon known to man. I always roll 2d6 when attacking, even when using spoons. So he's like Chronicles of Riddick. An exceptionally hard task may incur a bane. Most of the time, the difficulty scale is adequate, but sometimes an action is so problematic it requires a bane. Things like fighting in total darkness or doing another task while on fire count as a bane. In this case, the hindered hero rolls 2 dice instead of 1 and keeps the lower result. If skilled but afflicted with a bane, the hero goes back to only rolling 1 die. Skill cancels the bane out. Ian says they read through this a couple weeks and it didn't really seem their jam. Well, let's see. So, the advantage-disadvantage system is nice. I know, I feel I've said this many times. I think it's kind of, its strength, it's got this kind of strength and weakness, which are kind of the same. It is very simple. It's easy to explain. Roll 2 dice, take the higher, take the lower. But I feel like it's maybe a little, I like a little bit more granularity, I think, than that. And I think you could probably do that. Just letting people add more dice. Instead of having just one, let's say to put it in terms of EZD6, 1 boon and 1 bane and cancel each other out, just stack them. Just roll more dice. So if you had 1 boon and 1 bane, you'd roll 3 dice and you'd take the middle because the boon and the bane would kind of knock out the high. The bane would knock out the high die, boon would knock out the low die. In the middle, you'd end up like I think you could, and then if you could roll 4 dice, 5 dice, whatever. Maybe I would like that better. I'm not sure, but it is a good system, and there's no question it is simple. Can I help a fellow adventurer with a task? Heroes can give up their future action in the turn to help another player. That player rolls a die and treats it like a boon rolled in the check. For example, a conjurer with magical mystery boon, in the magical mystery tour, gets to roll 2d6 when trying to decipher a scroll of lore. The player assisting the conjurer has the aspect of training with a scribe. The ref rules that the aspect fits with the task and would allow the scribe to roll a die also. 3 dice have been rolled for the check, and the final number will be the highest of the 3. Since the scribe helped the conjurer this turn, remember that the scribe loses their turn action. Okay, so this is kind of cool. So you can stack them up, and I suppose presumably you could stack those up with Bane, stack your Banes up as well. Oh crap, I rolled a 1. Rolling a 1 is always a failure, and the ref can put that hero in a sticky situation depending on the action happening in the story at that particular time. Did the hero just petition the local lord for aid? Perhaps they inadvertently insulted said noble. Did the hero want to swing from a rope? Perhaps the rope breaks and the hero smashes into the enemy like a bowling ball into pins. A hero still has a chance to recover from a failed roll. See hero die below. Yeah, the only problem with this is I don't like the stuff where it's like, I asked the noble for help, I roll the die, and then you accidentally insulted them. Because I would want to role play out that situation. And if, for example, if I'm the player, I walk into the throne room for my audience, and I say, oh, great lord, we beseech you for aid in stopping the incoming orc army. Okay, roll this thing. Oh, crap, I rolled a 1. And the GM says to me, well, you accidentally insulted the king. Whatever. Like, well, what's the insult come from? And I don't like when the rolls either are going to sort of inject something that wasn't there. It's not like I tried to jump, and I don't know how well I jump, so I roll. And maybe you could say, well, the Lord didn't like you were too slimy. Your prostrations were too much. You like someone with more backbone. I don't know. Like it's that weird area where I want to role play it out a little bit more than just go to the roll. So I don't tend to like those kind of examples where you're kind of in a social situation. Presumably you're talking it out, because I don't want a situation to be you player says to the GM, okay, I go into the throne room. I want to talk to the king about helping us with the orc invasion. And then the GM just say, well, roll the dice and then we'll decide how you did. I mean, maybe some folks play their game that way. I don't know, but I would want to have the conversation, and then I'd want the conversation to determine how it works or not, and maybe on the 1, I would change that to being like something else is happening and the king just can't afford to send anybody. I don't know, but I wouldn't want it to just be, oh, you insulted the king. It's like, I didn't say anything. Riddle C says, if you get good enough at running D&D, you learn your preferences, and I think it's super easy to house rule or Frankenstein your own system. The trick is getting established players to agree to use it. Yep, that's pretty true. That is pretty true. I mean, and I think that's a key point, Riddle C, is established players. I think new players, it's really easy. They'll just follow your lead. But yeah, it's getting the people who have played a bunch of other games or potentially played the game you're playing for ages and ages to buy into stuff. The new players, that's kind of where they excel, is just rolling with whatever the game is, because you're explaining them the game. The game is whatever you say it is, right? They have no preconceived notions or just a few. Kick-ass, I rolled a 6. Rolling a 6 is always a success. What happens is determined by what is possible for the hero in that setting. Let the player have fun with the success and allow them to narrate a cool outcome for the roll. In combat, rolling a 6 has an added benefit, and then that triggers a crit roll. One thing to note here is, since we're rolling d6s, your chances of critical failing or critical succeeding are a little bit higher than on your standard d20. So on a d20, you have a 5% chance of rolling a 20, and you have a 5% chance of rolling a 1. But with a 6-sided die, it's something like you're in that 666, or is it 333, 16.33333, whatever it is, right? Or 15.66, whatever it is, you end up at 33.33 if it's 1 or 2. So basically, overall, you have about a 33% chance of rolling a 1 or a 6. Something like that. So you have to note that you, instead of having just a 10% chance of critting one way or another in D10, you're up to a 30% chance. So there's a lot. You're gonna have a lot more opportunities in this game to be rolling your 1s and 6s than you are in your average D20 game, which is probably a good thing to note. Note that in your notes. Note it in the log, Mr. Sulu. Calling on your inner strength, the hero die. At the start of the session, each hero gets a hero die. This can be burned at any time in the game to re-roll a die, even if you rolled a 1. Once used, the die is discarded, but can be reacquired any time by spending 5 karma to retrieve it. All right, so we have basically it's your inspiration. You start off with 1, and then you spend it, or you spend it. You can get it back with karma. But I guess my only question is at the start of a session. So if you don't spend karma to get it, do you get it automatically start the next session? I'm guessing so. I'm guessing you start every session with it, and it's not like as you start the game, but it's just a, re-roll a die. Karma, a hero's way to shrug off bad luck. Heroes often have luck on their side. How many times in stories have you seen a down-and-out hero suddenly turn the tide on the gloating enemies? These are awesome moments, and karma is the mechanic in this game that represents heroes shifting luck. How do I get karma? 3 karma are awarded to each hero at the start of the session. The ref can also award karma for excellent role-playing moments, but the most common way to acquire karma is through failure. Whenever a hero fails an action roll, they gain 1 karma. It sucks to fail a roll, and receiving a karma to use later helps take away the sting of failure that ensures that no matter how bad a player rolls, they will bank karma for later. You can only ever get 1 karma a turn, no matter how many rolls you fail. That's good to know. And then how to use karma. Karma can be turned in to improve almost any die roll on a 1 pip per 1 karma point basis. This changes your roll to a success. You do the task you were going for and lose karma used. If your roll becomes a 6 in combat, follow the crit roll. There's no limit to the total number of karma a player can hoard or use in a turn. When you accept karma for a failed roll, you cannot then use the karma gained for that turn's rolls. I think I like this. I think I like this karma system. And because you're only dealing with a 6-sided die, at worst comes to worst, you have to spend 5 karma to flip a 1 to a 6. And I like that it rewards you for failing. So you might take a chance and do something because you have karma. So if I'm sitting on, say, 2 or 3 karma, maybe there's something that there's a low chance of success, but I might be thinking, well, if I get this and I get it, great. But if I fail, I'm going to have now 4 karma, which then means that on the next turn when I need to do something super vital, I'll have a really good chance to be able to turn my karma in, because then if I need that 6 and I'm on 2, I'll have enough karma to flip it. So the only thing I'll have to be worried about is a 1 kind of thing, which is, I think, is pretty cool. Ian says they do like opportunities to fail forward. Yeah. It's not even so much you're failing forward, but you're just getting something for a failure. It's like, great, you get a little consolation prize in that karma, and that karma can be very useful, and you can hoard it. There's nothing that says you can only have 1, or whatever. You can just take that karma and just bank it, but you still have failed. So you still have to live with the consequences of the failure, but you get this little thing that says, hey, don't feel too bad. Here's this little bit of karma. Is there anything that you can't use karma on? Yes, karma cannot be used on magic or miracles. The ebb and flow of magic and the fickleness of the gods prevent bending by karma. More on that later. Karma cannot be used to modify a 1, but a hero die can. All right, so if you do roll a 1, that's just an auto, always a fail. Can't karma at a failure, a critical failure. Lucaria says, yeah, binary checks have fallen out of favor with me over the years. Success with the cost or failing forward feels less forced. I mean, I think there are some things where I'm okay with you just failing at, just because they're failing. But other things, I think it's nice. I think it's nice to have the option. I think as the GM, give me the tools to have the option. And then if I want to just have you fail, for example, the hero says, I want to run through this brick wall like I'm the Kool-Aid guy, I might just have that fail. But I don't know what the forward would be from that. I'm just like, and I'm not giving you, you're doing this goofy thing and you know better. I'm not giving you some kind of a benefit to trying to be the Kool-Aid guy on something that you clearly cannot be the Kool-Aid guy on. So I'm just going to have you fail. But by giving me the option, it's there for me. So I do appreciate that. I may not always use it, but give me the option. I mean, I do this a lot, or I'll take the binary kind of D20 kind of rolls, and I'll give them degradations, succeed by 5, or succeed by more than 5, or fail by more than 5, and I'll add them in. But, you feel like, why not just bake them into the system, and then, even if it's just you ran headlong into the wall like the Kool-Aid guy, if you just barely failed, maybe you only take 1 hit point damage, whereas if you fail more failure, then you take multiple hit points of damage. And if you super fail, maybe you knock yourself goofy for a minute, you know, whatever. There's always things you can do with them. How do we track time? There are 2 states of gameplay, narrative time and action time. Narrative time is a loose time structure and can represent anywhere from minutes to days. In narrative time, players can discuss plans or roleplay in any order. As a ref, make sure each hero gets time to contribute. Action time is more structured and represents actions that are happening quickly and usually under duress. Only seconds of time pass and are abstractly represented by a turn. Each hero can move, perform 1 turn action and 1 free action. A scene is an abstract way to measure the duration of effects and is often called an encounter in other games. If anything in the game has the duration of a scene, it will last about 10 minutes or the duration of a skirmish battle. I don't know if I like the scene stuff. I mean, I get it. Lots of games now use these kind of media-influenced things like you're playing in a movie, but I feel like, at least for the kind of games that I want to play, I don't want people to look at it in that narrative movie sense. Because that brings with it sort of narrative structures that I'm not really trying to do. When I'm playing a more open-ended sandbox game where we're not having like a movie plotted out movie type of game, then I don't want scenes that are going to subtly reinforce or enforce the idea that we're playing through that kind of more narrative structure. But, you know, you can always change it. It's not a horrible thing. What can I do on my turn in action time? Heroes get a move, a turn action, and a free action. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of go some of this. Okay, you can delay your turn. I'm gonna just breeze through some of these because there's a lot to cover here, and I don't want to get too wrapped up. I don't want to get too wrapped up in some of these things that aren't, I think we all, I'm coming at it as you, the dear viewer, has some experience with role-playing games. So I think we get the gist of the kind of turn actions, free actions in a combat sense. How far can you move? That's fun. Who goes first? Unless the heroes are surprised by the enemy, all heroes take their turns first, and then the enemies go. Heroes can go in any order, make sure everyone gets a turn, and then the ref gets a turn, moving and attacking melee enemies. Do I have 10,000 hit points? No. Having lots of health points adds too much fussy math. For most characters, it will be 3 strikes and you're out, but having to take those strikes is another matter. Enemies can take more or fewer strikes depending on factors in the enemy and monster section. How do you recover lost strikes? Magic and special abilities can help heroes heal strikes. However, you can also recover 1 strike naturally by eating a meal and resting for the night. That's not terrible, but you only get 3. That's, you still got to be careful, I'm guessing. And then 1 hit equals 1 strike. The crit rule, rolling a 6 in combat is a crit and has the potential to cause more strikes of damage. Continue rolling 1 die for every consecutive 6 rolled, inflict another strike. This is called confirming the crit. Ugh, I hated the confirming the crit rules. Hated it. Just give me my stupid 5% chance. Don't make me then roll again. Ugh, I hated that. Hated. It's like everybody did. Yeah, it's just lame. That's one of those things that should have just been left. You talk about looking at things with a kind of modern sense where you're trying to maximize fun for kind of hassle. And that's one of the most unfun kind of let's roll it back. Ooh, you just rolled a 20. Isn't this exciting? Roll it again and we're going to walk that thing back. It's like, oh my God, just give me my hit. What is the big deal? Let's see what else we have here. I crit multiple times, but killed my enemy with the first strike. Do I lose the crit? I guess the answer is no. Confirmed crits permit unused strikes to be carried over to nearby targets. If you are a melee fighter, only opponents next to you could be hit. If you are ranged, you could choose targets within sight. Oh, that one, I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to mitigate that one. I love the idea, but I don't like the idea that if you're ranged, you get a whole lot more out of that than if you're a melee fighter. I feel like the risk that you take being in melee is much higher than you're ranged. So I think I'd want to give something more to the melee fighter. Ian says, it makes sense when the crit is you lop their head off. Well, I think if that's the crit, that's probably the killing blow. I've never played a lot with crit tables. And if you're doing the crit table is itself kind of you're confirming the crit because some of the entries in the crit tables are usually kind of lame. Either like, oh, you just did regular damage anyway or something. And then you get, your kind of Vorpal action of, I lopped its head off. I don't know that. I don't have played anywhere where that was the result of your crit, unless this crit was like it was the killing blow, and so you would, you'd get to either the GM would narrate, or as a player you would narrate what that is. And if it is a Vorpal sword that has a crit roll, you get your head rolled off, then I suppose. But if you're up to getting a Vorpal sword and you roll that 20, man, give it to them, because that's the whole love. That's the whole point of having a Vorpal sword, so you can is lopping heads off. This monster's trying to eat me. How can I escape? There may be times when you want to restrain an enemy that is running away or escape the jaws of a dragon trying to swallow you. These types of opposed actions are called contests. Think of them as one party wanting a certain outcome and the opposing party wanting another. The ref and the hero roll against each other, and the higher roll wins. All right. I do like this kind of setup of doing it a little bit. I mean, the headers, it's got a very simple header, just in terms of the organization, but I kind of like some of the things a little bit. It's almost FAQ style, though I think the flip side is as a reading kind of learning document, I think it's good. I don't know if as a reference I would like it so much, because I have to, instead of just having like show me the chase rules, I got to sort of figure out, I got to kind of read and discern, oh, this is the chase rules, even, or this is your rules for doing opposed checks, as opposed to having something that says opposed checks, if that makes sense. Ian says, players love those tables until they get crit. Yeah, everyone loves the crit and fumble tables until they're the recipient of the crit and fumble tables. Fumble tables kind of stink too, but I don't know, people just seem to love them. It's bad enough, I feel like, when you just miss and whiff, and then having to roll and say like, oh, you're a level 8 swordsman, but now you've dropped your sword and stepped on it and broke it in half. Like, oh, aren't you a goof? Like, yeah, that's right. That's how I always imagined Conan doing, is tripping over their own sword and breaking it in half. Ovaltine Patrol says that confirmation rolls became a thing because it became possible to crit with lower numbers in 3rd edition. Some weapons could crit on an 18 or 19, and magic or feats could bring it down more. Yeah, I mean, I know the part of why 3rd edition was not my favorite edition. But yes, I mean, once they started monkeying with those just 20s and 1s, and you're right, and 3rd edition had it. I don't know if 2nd did or not. I don't know if 4th edition had it or not. I guess 5th edition has some of it. Isn't there certain class, or maybe there's a species race that has like crit on 18? Yeah, once they started monkeying with it, I get it. But I feel like people were doing confirmation to crit before 3rd edition. But I could be wrong. I could be misremembering, because I want to say that I remember doing that, and I was not playing. I might have been playing 2nd, but again, my memory could be hazy. All right, let's see. Armor won't save from everything. Fine. Armor, what do armors do? Okay, so armor allows heroes to make an armor save after each strike they take. A successful roll avoids 1 strike. The hero who was hit takes the strike from any armor save they fail. If you are hit for multiple strikes or damage like a crit, you get to make the roll for each strike point. That's an interesting one, because a lot of this seems to be on kind of minimizing this, but this you got to roll potentially a bunch of times. I don't know how I feel about that. The 4th, is it 4F a scythe crit on 16th edition, 16 plus? Did it do that in 4th edition? Oh my gosh, I hope not. I hope not. Okay, armor can't save you from everything. Fine, caught in certain death. You can try to make a miraculous save roll instead of an armor save, and only survive with 1 strike remaining, even if they make the roll. So you can try to avoid certain death, but then you're still going to take a strike, even if you succeed. That's kind of cool. Heroes can cast magic spells and call in miracles. All right. Magic and miracles are unlike other actions. I don't think we're going to get there. Preparing a spell, the conjurer explains what spell they are casting to the ref. The ref then decides if the spell is targeted against a creature, an effect, or a beneficial spell with friendly targets. This exchange will help the ref decide on how many resistance dice to roll. Most enemies or heroes resist spells with a d6 roll, whereas others have a higher magic resistance and will roll more dice. Spells targeted against the environment instead of an enemy generally roll a 1d6, but the ref may decide to roll more dice depending on factors within the spell area. Powering up a spell. When a conjurer casts a spell, they must decide the power level, which is from 1d6 up to 3d6 that they want to use. This means that the conjurer has to choose whether to roll 1, 2, or 3 dice. The caster must equal or beat the resistance number of the highest resistance die roll of the targets on one of the power level dice rolled. The resistance dice will always be rolled and revealed first before the conjurer decides on the power level. Okay, that's interesting. The highest resistance number ends up as a 1. The conjurer automatically casts the spell. Uh-oh. Okay, that was in 3rd edition, the scythe critting on 16 pluses. All right, so you get to choose with the power level, but does the power level depend on your caster level, or is there no such thing as a caster level? And what would okay, I see there's gonna be, because I was gonna say, why would you ever roll only 1 or 2 dice if you can roll 3? But I guess we're gonna find out. Successfully casting a spell, the highest die rolled on a power level roll must equal or beat the highest resistance die. A PL of 6 will beat a 6 rolled by the ref on the resistance die. A power, what is the PL? Power level, okay. I guess if a tie goes to the caster. So if you rolled a 6 to withstand it, and I decide to roll 3d6, and I get a 6 as the caster's 1. The caster's 6 is going to override defensive 6. So your tie goes to the offensive creature. The potential problems is if any of the power level dice rolled are 1s. If so, the spell fails automatically unless the conjurer takes spellburn. All right, now we're talking. Rolling more power level dice has a greater chance of equaling or beating a resistance roll, but also gives you a better chance to roll a 1. If the resistance number you need to equal or beat is low, consider rolling 1 or 2 dice instead of 3. Well, there we go. There's our answer. Spellburn and personal sacrifice. Manipulating the mystic energies is difficult and can be outright dangerous. A roll of 1 when casting a spell means the energies do not manifest, but a conjurer may want to sacrifice life force to continue to cast a spell. A spell can still be cast by the conjurer taking a strike of damage for each 1 rolled. Otherwise, the spell fails. Karma cannot be used to boost power level spell rolls or resistance rolls, but a hero die can be used to reroll any single power level die, including a 1. That's really interesting. So you can fail, but you can power through it by taking strikes. And this is, what is this? Strawberry Lemonade Spindrift for the working man. Conjurers can attack up to 6 enemies, but the strain is great, and the defenses will be harder to overcome if spells are stretched over multiple targets. The targets must be within near proximity to each other. Each target above 1 adds an extra d6 to the resistance roll for the grouping. This means that either all the targeted enemies are hit or none are. For example, 3 targeted enemies defend against a spell at a 3d6. Certain enemies may use bonus dice to resist it if included in the pool of targets. Conjurers must anchor a spell to maintain it. Some spells are not cast instantly and need to be maintained. Anchoring allows conjurers to embed and maintain an active, prolonged spell in their mind. The conjurer can do any other actions while anchoring a spell, but if the conjurer takes a strike, falls unconscious, or casts another spell, the anchor is broken, causing the spell to end. Some circles of sorcery require the burning of karma as well as anchoring to maintain a spell. So basically, you have your kind of concentration style rules, helping the ref understand the spell being cast. Most attack spells are pretty straightforward. The conjurer announces spell and targets. The ref rolls resistance dice and informs the conjurer of the number they need for success. The conjurer decides on a power level on whether to take spell burn if it fails. Other spells might be less clear-cut. This is where arbitration with the ref may come in. After you make a case for the spell, your ref will decide on the validity of the spell and the number or resistance of the resistance dice you must beat to cast it. Remember that the ref has the final word on spell casting. If you decide the spell would be too hard to cast, you can always switch to another spell. By creating your own spells on the fly, creating your own spells on the fly is fun, but will take up time at the table. Be careful not to make your spell too complicated and difficult to explain. If the process is bogging down the game, consider using a simpler spell. So I guess we're having some kind of ad hoc spell system, which seems really cool. Hopefully we'll get into seeing what it can do for you, or for us, I suppose. For you, for us. Where are we at here? Okay, scrolls. Offer spells from all circles of sorcery. Conjurers, hedge wizards, and scalds use scrolls. Heroes with devout inclination can call in miracles. Let's see, what are miracles? You can ask a favor of your divine patron, but the likelihood the deity will directly intervene is small. Roll up to 3d6. like a conjurer, but instead of a power level, the roll represents the urgency of your prayer. The hero must equal or beat the aloofness roll of their deity to petition for a miracle. The ref will determine the number of aloofness dice rolled for the request. Example, resurrecting a fallen friend would be a 66 difficulty, while speak to the dead would be 3d6. Miracles can only be asked for once per situation, and since the gods can be arrogant, no karma may be used. Miracles cannot be used to harm another being or cause damage. Don't forget the hero die can be used to re-roll any single prayer die. Rolling a 1 will automatically end your chance of a miracle. However, like Spellburn for conjurers, offerings made to a deity by heroes with a devout inclination will receive a blessing to re-roll all the dice for a prayer once per day. The ref will stipulate whether the offering is sufficient to the request. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of following the sort of kind of clerical versus wizard thing, wizard dynamic, but of course clerics can cast spells that can damage people, but miracles, I guess, in their nature, cannot. Can't cause damage, can't harm another being. And then we have some notes about calling on miracles. I almost wonder if it would be better. I don't know. Some of these things I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'd like to see what the scale is. I saw they had a nice scale, right, of how difficult your request is, or how difficult you were trying, your task was, what number you need to roll on a d6. This one, having to determine how many dice I will roll to see, is a little bit, I would just almost rather just setting up the same kind of thing. Just say, hey, you got to roll 6s for the difficulty. It does mean that even something super difficult, because you're going to take if I'm reading this correctly, 66 difficulties, good chance you're going to get a 6. And you can't use karma, but you can use hero dice. So there's a good chance you're going to get a 6 in 66. Let's just assume that you do get a 6. Why not just tell me, instead of having me roll 66 and then figure out the highest one and do that, and then I have to decide how many dice I think I should roll? Because my problem is that whereas I like the d6 die, because it's, other than the 0.3333 to infinity, whatever, on the ends of the odds, your probabilities are pretty easy to figure out. It's 15 and change to, or whatever, 16 and change to 33.3333 to 50% to 70, whatever. You just kind of, or whatever the next number is, 60 something, then whatever you get up there, right? You just go through it. You can go on any dice, you can get all the numbers, so you can really figure out, okay, here are those odds: 1, 2, 3, that's 50%, whatever. Reverse 1, 2, and 3 for, or 1 and 2 for 5, 6, and 5 and 6, and then you can figure out the die. It's easy, pretty easy math. So I can get that. And as a player, I can look at that. I can look at that little table, and I can say, okay, here's what I'm going to roll. Great, easy task. I just got to beat a 1. If it's a medium task, I got to beat a 3. If it's or I got to beat a 2, I got to get 3 or more. Whatever, right? I got it all figured out. But when you're adding this other element in here, now as the GM, I'm trying to figure out what are the odds. Like if I want to set difficulties, instead of just being able to say, I only want there to be that 15% chance or 16 and change % chance of success, so I want them to roll 6. Easy, okay? That's just super difficult. Resurrection, super difficult. I want them to roll 6, maybe even 6 with a Bane. You got to roll and do that. Great. That's a lot easier for me to figure out as a GM, especially in the moment, than figuring out, should I be rolling 46, 5d6, 66, 3d6, whatever it is. From the player's side, I get it. It's more straightforward, because you want to roll more dice to get those high numbers, and you'll theoretically live with the spellburn. But from the GM side, I'd rather just give me the number. Like if we're just going with ease, then instead of having me roll dice and do that kind of dynamically, so it's going to sort of be all over the place, just make it hard. Maybe just make miracles just 6s, and that you probably shouldn't waste a miracle on something. I guess you just do it if you need to. So if you need to speak with dead instead of resurrection, then you do that and just say it's just 6s because it's a miracle and it should be kind of tough. I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think. If you like this system of rolling dice to figure out the difficulty as opposed to just having a fixed difficulty. I guess I wonder what am I gaining other than the fact that sometimes it's going to be easy and sometimes it's going to be hard. What am I gaining from that, do you think, as opposed to just the speed of just saying, yeah, it's super hard, it's a 6, or all miracles are 6s, or something like that? All right, let's move along here. Money and wealth don't have to be a chore. Non-magical wealth is often a goal in adventure games, but is a chore to track. Characters in fiction never track money, but give clues about how always being broke or deciding what to do with a hoard uncovered and won. Those choices make the game interesting, but in mechanical terms, slow the game down and turn it into a bean counting headache. A much easier system is to turn all that tracking into levels of wealth that the heroes have access to. There are no hard or fast rules to this. Rather, let the story dictate the level of wealth. For example, heroes uncover a vast treasure hoard, giving them kingly wealth. Hearing of this, a dragon raids their stash and steals the treasure. Now all the heroes are cash poor. They could set up a headquarters, but now must seek treasure to pay expenses. So, although no bean counting is happening in the game, the heroes can still be motivated by non-magical treasure. And they like that they're doing this magical with an M-A-G-I-C-K spelling, which is all right, but I feel like it's a little bit distracting for... I'm not sure if it's worth the distractingness, but that's just what they're doing to do. So we have wealth levels: pauper, cash poor, moderate, wealthy, lordly wealth, and then kingly wealth. I always go back and forth in these because, yes, I agree it is nice to get rid of the bean counting, but sometimes that specificity, it's helpful. Because you're in a situation where, say, you want to bribe somebody. What does that mean? I have kingly wealth. I need to bribe this other lord, and I need to give him something. So what does that mean if I say, well, I will bribe them enough that will take me from kingly wealth down to wealthy? So a whole level of wealth. Like, what does it actually equate to? Because I don't want the game to devolve into just speaking in abstractions. I'm going to give them a level of wealth, and I'm going to subtract. Like, I'm going to subtract this level to give you. Like, I don't want that. I would want the party to look at let me go and open up my vault, and I will give them this painting of Saint Stephen that I know is valued at this huge sum of money. Like, that's kind of what I want the game to be in there, them doing that and not going, I want to trade this level of wealth for this. So that's always something I've always felt a little bit clunky, at least when I think about reading some of the rules, some of these mechanics that get into basically your usage die kind of thing, where you have like an abstract number of arrows. It's just like, oh, I have a number, or I have a lot, then I have some and a little. Then you get a situation where maybe you want to, hey, the Mad Hermit wants some arrows. How many do you give him? And then it's like, well, I give him enough. Can I give him enough to go from a lot to some? It's like, well, what is that number? Like, it doesn't really exist. Or if I say I give him 12, like, is that, how much of my a lot is 12? Am I down to some? Am I down to little? Am I down to barely any? Like, I don't know. And I'd rather my players deal with that stuff and being in the fiction in that way than working on this abstract level where we're all just kind of going like, I'm not sure what it means. Like Ari says, they'll take granularity over fuzziness any day. Yeah, there's probably a middle ground. Probably. I don't know that I've found it yet, but I haven't. To be fair, I haven't really played a lot of usage die games. I've read different versions of it. So maybe in play, it comes across as better. But I always just have that little bit of hesitation when, things just get, I like that term, fuzzy. Things just get a little bit fuzzier than I want when I want my party working kind of in the story of the fiction. Like Arius also says, although at the same time, I have our quartermaster do all the shopping out of session usually too. Hey, I think that's a great use for hirelings. I mean, there's accountant hirelings. You can definitely have quartermaster hirelings that do all that stuff. Absolutely. I think there are a lot of ways that you can definitely reduce the bookkeeping without necessarily jumping to fuzzy numbers. But fuzzy numbers, I think people do seem to like. I wonder about some of those things sometimes. All right, so I'm going to go through... I want to go through this briefly because I'm already running low on time, and we're only on page 20 of like 100. So choosing a hero... We choose a hero path, we choose a species, we choose inclinations, 3 for humans, 2 for others. Choose 2 aspects, or you can create during play. If you're a conjurer, you choose your circle of sorcery, and then you choose your equipment. So you got paths. I'm going to just go by these super fast. Right, warrior. Notice your health is pretty much, I think everyone's going to probably have the same health, I think, right? 3 strikes. Heavy armor. They have a boon for melee and strength tasks, and they have some special abilities. Warden seems like your ranger type. We have a delver. I guess kind of a rogue. Brute, which I guess is sort of your barbarian style class. Rascal, well, that might be the rogue. What's Delver? That's kind of interesting. I guess they're more, maybe they're more of an adventurer kind of rogue. It seems like they're kind of an adventurer, jack of all trades type. Rascal, that's definitely a rogue. Conjurer, friar, scald. There's your bard, beastmaster. Ooh, that's some kind of scary critter over there. Ray LC says, depends on your loop, in their opinion. Our loop is seek treasure, spend treasure, gain power. Not counting that makes the system break down for us. Yeah. I mean, though, you could probably abstract the spending. I mean, there are probably ways to do it. You just don't see them very much because oftentimes these kind of usage type systems, it's for stuff that you're sort of buying in bulk and then spending at need, and it's just a matter of like when your need is caught up to your spending. When you start getting into transference, then it kind of breaks down. Like if you're just saying, oh, I'm just going to track rations using a usage die, so you could roll some dice for how much you spend to raise your usage die of rations up from a D4 to D20, let's say, and that's fine. And then, okay, every day we're going to roll that D20. If I get a 1 or a 2, it drops down to a D12 and then down to a D10. Great. It breaks down when you have to try to then transfer it out of that to, all right, I'm at D12 rations and we've just helped out these poor farmers, but their crop has been destroyed and all this and that. So we want to give them some food for the next week. What does that look like in terms of like, what are we giving them? And then what does it cost us? Like, does it make sense to say, okay, we're giving them a D6 usage die, so our D12 will drop down to D6? Like, does that make sense? Does that work? And that's where it kind of, it starts to fail a little bit, at least for me, or you run into some added difficulties. I think it's fine when you're basically transferring it one way. We're going to take some kind of expenditure and we're going to turn it into a level, a usage die level, and then it's going to sit there in that usage die level, and we'll never have to transfer it out of there or translate it back. It's just stuff. But when you have to start messing around with that stuff and you have to try to translate it back from the abstraction of the usage die back into stuff, it gets kind of funky, right? And I think part of what I always like about these kinds of games, OSR games, is that you can think outside the box. You can run into some goblins and I narrate how they look starving. And so maybe you try to avoid the combat by saying, oh, they look starving. Let's give them some food. We'll give them dinner. It's like, great. And then now you get bogged down doing that stuff that it was great when you were just rolling that die every day and it was simple and fast and you weren't having to make marks on a paper. Though even to me, like making marks on a paper or scratching up marks on the paper is not to me a whole lot more work than rolling the dice to keep track of what die you have. But whatever, that's I guess different things are going to be more or less taxing different people. But now we have to do that kind of the work that we thought we were avoiding by using the usage dice. Now we're kind of in it again. I don't know. To each their own, right? Anyway, we got species, humans, elves, dwarves, halflings, goblins. And then we could choose inclinations. Humans get 3, others get 2. Basically, these are kind of your, I guess, kind of secondary skills. You can be an alchemist. You can be attuned. You can have hatred of the unholy. You can be born blessed. You can be cat-like. You can checkmate. You can be a surgeon. You can be a craft person. You can be a dandy. I always love a good dandy. You can have danger sense. You can be devout. You can be faithful. These kind of seem sort of feats, I guess. You could be a hedge wizard. You can know lock picking. You can be a tough bastard. You can have treasure sense. You can find victory in failure. That's a good one. You gain 2 karma for a failed roll. That seems like the one you should always take. And then you're supposed to create aspects. It feels like kind of like fate. Kind of one of those fate. Isn't it fate that has aspects? Aspects are player-created traits and a great way to round out the concept of your character. Right? So yeah, they're traits. So you can, be a well-known cook, a lover of some renown, fast on your feet, collector of trinkets. You never show emotion. You could be a champion gladiator. What are the benefits of aspects are players can use an aspect to gain a boon to roll that pertains to the aspect. Players then role play or make the case why the aspect is pertinent. The ref makes the final determination. I think the interesting thing here is, I guess depending on your game, some aspects are going to be way more powerful than others. Being a well-known cook is going to be super situational, I'm guessing, in a lot of games. You didn't sound like you had to roll to make dinner to gain a point of to gain a strike back. So when is being a well-known cook? Sure, there are going to be social situations. I'm not saying it'll never come up, and you could create situations in which you come up, but it's going to be pretty situational. Whereas Champion Gladiator, if I have Champion Gladiator, I'm probably going to try to talk my GM into having me get that boon in combat, if I can. I don't remember if there's any prohibition on using aspects in combat, but I'm gonna try, because every combat, I'm a Champion Gladiator. I know how to fight things, kind of thing. Or I'm sure there are other ones. Never show emotion seems pretty situational also, but I almost would want to say, hey, your caveat is that none of these can work in combat. That is not combat things. When you use your Champion Gladiators as anything outside of combat, just to keep people from picking stuff to just try to just game even more in combat. Let's see what else we have. So we have Circles of Sorcery, Arcane Bands, Blastmaster, Botanicalist, Elementalist, Illusionist, Necromancer, Seer, Shadow Weaver, Shapeshifter. And then we get equipment. You can pick or roll. I'm going to breeze through, and now we're into the ref section. So I'm gonna try to, I'm already sort of behind, or sort of already late, but I know I started late, so I'm gonna try to make up a little bit of time here, maybe go a little bit long, but kind of breeze through this. Let's just see, just in the bold strokes, their thoughts on what makes a good game. Concentrate on telling a good story. Moral choices make for a dramatic story. Don't just give the scene away. Make lovable NPCs as well as villains to hate. Don't have players roll for everything. We also have karma makes for an exciting player choice. The hero die is not just second-class karma. The rules are nearly invisible until important choices are to be made. And then confirming a crit. What do we need to play the game? Playing with mirrors terrain. I'm going to rose through all that. Scotty's pro tips. Okay, this is stuff about terrain. All right. Will my friends want to play EZD6? I don't know. Will they? I mean, why not? I would try it. Long-term hero rewards. Unlike other games, EZD6 has no set leveling or rewards in the classic sense. Benefits should be story-based and doled out by the rabble-rouser during story and campaign progression. Getting magic items is often the main goal of characters in fantasy games. Rewarding magic items can keep the game fresh, as characters can acquire new abilities from them. Unlike many systems that have a huge amount of magic items, enchanted gear in EZD6 is truly special and gives substantial power to the hero. Story-based elements like land, title, fortifications, or small businesses are another way to reward growing heroes. If a hero spends a significant amount of game time learning or using a new skill, give them a boon in it. Permanent hero dice can be awarded at certain points in the hero's career, like when the characters complete a major quest. Thus, players could start each session with 2 or more hero dice. Interesting mounts or means of transport are always cool. A good story is enough to keep players coming back to find out what happens next. And how do I decide an action target number? Yep, we found that. I wanted to see, here we go. A few tips for arbitrating spells. This is the one that I was really curious about. If a spell is being cast in narrative time and affects the caster or willing subjects, no roll is needed, as the conjurer has plenty of time to build up magical energies for success. No, I want to know about those numbers. So the numbers for casting spells on creatures is pretty self-explanatory, though I still just would just rather, instead of rolling dice, just to say on a creature, 3, multiple creatures, 5, everybody 6, something like that, and just do that instead. And get rid of that little bit of variability that I don't know what it does for you, other than slowing you down a bit and making me think about how many d6 I'm supposed to roll. Miracles should be hard. Always roll the resistance dice for miracles. Simple requests like speaking with the dead or a clue to your current situation start out as 3d6. And hard requests like turning a dead in resurrection should be 66. Miracles for a particular situation can only be asked once. Asking for more than one miracle a scene will automatically fail. You are the final arbiter of miracles, so if you don't want something like resurrection in your game, don't allow it. Always remember that any miracle request that injures or causes harm is automatically denied. Yeah, I still just think, just tell me. Tell me. I almost think just make all miracles 6, and then that's it. Maybe that's how I would do it. Frederick Ward says they love the speed of this system. That seems to be what they're going for. But Frederick, in game, rolling those variable dice for things like miracles and spells and rolling for armor, how does that stuff affect the speed? Is it inconsequential in the case of time? Because I feel like that's adding a lot of extra, a bunch of die rolling at times that I'm not sure why they just don't avoid. Rain LC would like me to read through Trophy Dark fantasy theme, but totally different system mechanics than D&D adjacent games because it's pretty much a D&D horror one-shot. Oh, I'll have to look for that one. Trophy Dark. All right, I'm going to try to remember. Oh, and Frederick Ward says that's what they did, is made Miracles 6. Yeah, I just don't know why they didn't they didn't do that. Poison, fire, and acid. This type of damage will continue to inflict 1 strike per turn until a miraculous save is made. Okay. I'm going to breeze through a couple of these. Falling is dangerous. Falling about 10 feet inflicts a strike, 20 feet inflicts 2, and falling over that is a potential kill. Anytime a character falls, give them a chance at a miraculous save. If they fall at great height, use the caught in a sure death situation rules. The bad guys. A big part of the ref's job will be to control all the bad guys, as well as the neutral characters that the heroes will encounter. The ref will roll for them when they attack or have any interaction with the hero that requires die rolls, as well as role-playing all NPCs. Yep, that's fine. Not all enemies are created equal. True enough. Judgments over rules. Okay. The 2 to 6 difficulty scales all that's needed to arbitrate. Here's an example of a party of injured heroes trying to escape an enraged ogre who is after them. I don't think we need to read that because I think it's pretty straightforward. I think like I said, I don't know that I love rolling for spells as opposed to just coming up with fixed numbers. I feel like you could go. They've already established that 3 for 1 creature, right? You're rolling a spell against a creature. It's or 2. Was it a 3? 3, or maybe it was 1d6. I don't remember, but just like say like, hey, you're rolling a spell against a creature. That's a 3. 2 creatures, 4. 3 creatures, 5. More than 4 or more creatures, 6. And just bam, done. Miracles, 6. So you can only do it once a day. So if you need to speak to the dead, 6. If you need to resurrect somebody, and you can, maybe that's a 6 with a bane, something like that. And just get rid of that element because I just don't know that I want to roll this extra dice. And the same thing for armor. I would rather just say leather armor. No armor doesn't do anything. Leather armor maybe gets rid of a strike, but maybe that only lasts for 1 turn or something. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one more. But I don't know if I love rolling a bunch of saves every time you take a strike. I've got to roll. If I'm in combat with one thing, that's maybe easy. That thing attacks me, 1 attack, I could maybe roll the save. But then, okay, but now I'm in attack with 3 goblins. Every round, I got to roll 3, potentially up to 3 saves on top of the rolling that the goblins have done. I feel like there's probably a simpler way to do that, especially if my goal is simplicity and speed. I just feel like, how can I eliminate those if I'm really just going to be fast and simple? What can I do? What can I do to get you into this die roll today? Spell opportunities, not spell lists. Yep, I kind of like that. I still really like the Barbarians of Lemuria spell system. It's probably the best ad hoc one that I've read, but I haven't read very many, so. Asking the players to roll anything but a 1. When the heroes decide to do something with a low chance of failure, but the consequences will be interesting, you can ask them to roll anything but a 1. For example, the heroes want to climb a scaffolding with many handholds, but it creaks and groans as they climb, and the heroes realize it is not well built. One wrong move and a loose board could send a hero tumbling down. Don't forget to award boons to a hero if they apply to the situation. It's fine. And then we have an optional rule for mementos. Remember Sammy Jenkins. A memento is a small trinket of a personal significance to a hero. At any time during the game, a quick memory connected to the object can be revealed by the player, earning the hero 2 karma. This can only be done once per session. Anytime this rule is used in the future, the hero must reveal a new detail. Mementos can be lost or changed through the life of the character and are a great excuse to reveal the past details of our character. That's cool. All right, so we have now just, I'm skipping about your world adventure. Minions take 1 strike. Stronger bad guys could take 2 or 3 or more. You have to roll 3 to hit a player. How many attacks? Generally, enemies get 1 attack. Monster's enemy casts a spell. It works by spell casting rules. That's cool. That just works the same. Oh, let's see. Tug of war. Often monsters will grab, envelop, or try to swallow adventurers. To escape, the hero rolls a contest against the monster. The ref rolls for the monster, and the highest roll wins the challenge. Do monsters and enemies get saves? No, to keep excess rolling down. Give them more strikes instead of saves. This chart makes it an easy way to buff stronger enemies. That's cool. So yeah, if you want a level 5, level 1 is armored with 1 strike. Level 2, heavily armored with 2 strikes, etc. Or plus 2 strikes. Plus 1 strike. Cool. I'm not really going to go through the animals. We'll just go here. I'm guessing we're going to see basically our standard. Ooh, Death Lurker looks kind of cool. Drex, Festoids. It's like a big mouth. A meatball with a mouth with some taloned feet. Legs. Greeblix, Gray Ones, Noblogs, Kragors, Misty Spawn, Merc Strike. And then we get magic treasures. We got a bunch of scrolls, trinkets, melee weapons, unusual treasures, magic armor. And you get to roll them up. So that's cool. So you get to make, these are all tables. I'm kind of breezing through, but all this magic stuff's all tables. You roll to see what you get. Cool. Magic melee weapons, magic armor. Cool, cool, cool. And then on to the handy bits. We get some handy rule reference pages. We get a monster selector. We get some encounter twists. You would roll 1d6, I guess, during an encounter. We have one for battle twists. You could roll a 1d6 and you could potentially get secondary monsters coming in. Time could be running out. There's some kind of switcheroo. The monster encountered is a fake. There's some kind of trickery involved. The enemy tries to pull a Darth Vader and ask you to join them. Or there's some kind of specific circumstance that draws a hero to calls on their duty, pulls at their duty strings. And then we get some names, purposes, what do commoners want, what the powerful do. And you can create a lair. That's nice. Some boss monster stuff, minions everywhere. I always like a good minion. Probability generator. Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Well, they should have this for spells. They should really. So we have this searching probability roll that tells you how likely it is, I guess, to get. What are they trying to get here? You have to roll 6 to find something. And they tell you likely, probably not, little chance. 1d6 little chance, right? Because you have to roll that 6 and it's just that 16.33333, whatever. Probably not on a 2d6, likely on a 4d6. And I feel like they should have that for the spell. If you're going to make us roll the variable d6 for spell effects, then put this same table with difficulty for the spells, or for miracles, I should say, in there. That should really just have the same thing. If you're going to use that, but I would rather just use fixed numbers and just skip. And then we get a character sheet, and then we're at the end of the book. Well, we made it, everybody. Apologies again for my starting late and no intro, which I suppose some people will enjoy when it later on in YouTube they won't have to sit through the. Oh, I try to do a table of contents in the YouTube so that it skips through when I remember. Anyhow, I like it. I think it's pretty good. I think there's some things that I'm not sure I love about it. Of course, I'm just reading it and probably playing it. I would have to amend some of my thoughts, but it is a very simple system. I think it seems to work great for a one shot. I have to say, I do kind of like leveling or some kind of improvement other than items, because my problem with, if you're getting items, then if those items ever get lost, it's like you lost levels. And the same way people hate, level drain. Oh my gosh, I was level whatever. And when you're playing an ongoing campaign and my big reward that I got was getting, Excalibur, but then Excalibur is this big thing. So yeah, the dragon comes by and we have to run, and we were in the inn and I wasn't able to go up to my room and get Excalibur. Now I've lost it. It's like I lost 2 levels. I don't know if I like that so much. I think for a one shot or and certain types of campaigns it might work really well. I think if I was going to play this as an ongoing concern, I'd want to have some kind of I feel like some kind of leveling thing, or if not leveling, then maybe I could pick up another, I forget what did they call them, another what was it? No, it wasn't karma. Was it aspect? It wasn't aspect. It was, hold on a minute. Let me get over there. Let me go back and see it. Did am I going ahead or behind? No, it must have been over here somewhere. No, where was it? I don't remember now what it was. Oh, inclinations. Maybe get another inclination. I don't know, something. I want to have some kind of growth. That's me and as a player too. I want the growth that's my character. My character is better. They're not just better because they have a bigger axe. They're better because they are better. And if they lose that bigger axe, because they're better now, yeah, they can kill you with a spoon because they're Riddick. They're not just cool because they've got an axe. So I would probably want to do something with that. But I can also see a very quick pickup and play. Hey, let's just get in and play it. The D6 is very easy to pick up. I could easily see going through here and standardizing some numbers to make it really fast. Maybe I would even just take away the this, there's a lot of these systems. I was it Into the Odd that has it, or I forget which one, where you basically everything's a say. They take the monster to hit kind of part away, and they put it on the, you just save versus damage. And I almost think just do that instead of saying, okay, I've got to I'm gonna have the monster roll and roll an armor save. That just make the armor save the thing that gets rolled. So okay, the dragon's attacking you, roll your armor save, and then maybe because the dragon's really badass, let's say you're wearing heavy armor, so your armor save is, you're wearing the heaviest armor, so maybe your armor save is 3. So I roll my armor save, but then the dragon, maybe there's a bane on there, so I got to do 2 dice and take the whatever because it's a dragon. I can figure it out that way, but I basically said, okay, it's just going to be your armor. Your armor is your hardness to hit kind of thing, and do that instead of having roll and then roll the save, which I don't know, something about it just doesn't feel as streamlined as maybe it could be. But all in all, it seems like a really good, simple system. No real setting in here, which could be good or bad. There's nothing in here to dictate where you're playing, so you're pretty much have to bring your own setting, either yours or brought in from elsewhere. I mean, I think some folks look at these rule books and they really want a bunch of setting information in there, or has a really strong setting, like something like Into the Odd, Electric Bastion Land has a really strong central setting. This is pretty setting agnostic, so maybe that appeals to you, maybe it doesn't. I tend to homebrew anyway, so I don't really care one way or another. But yeah, I think a lot of the simplifications I like. There's a few things that maybe I would tweak myself, but hey, that's the point, right? I can download this system, in because it is so simple, you can kind of tweak it and not have to have a degree in advanced mathematics to do it without killing everything. Oh, and Frederick Work says they made a level system. Well, Frederick, if you ever publish it or get it in a space where you can share it, I'd love to see it. Maybe we can cover it on the channel. Because yeah, I think if I was playing a campaign game, I don't know, it just seems like it's kind of nice. I'm also not sure on I think the wealth system, again, I think it works for something like if you're playing one shots like Conan type games, it works great. You can finish the game where you've got kingly wealth and start off the next game where you're poor and need to adventure again. But for an ongoing campaign, while I like having those levels of wealth to be able to indicate kind of where you are in the pecking order of the wealthy and powerful, I'm okay with having the numbers. And I think the longer your game runs, I think the more bookkeeping you can have, that's okay. And a one shot, having a bunch of bookkeeping is a pain because you're just, it feels like you're wasting time for nothing. If you're playing a really long campaign, having a little bit of bookkeeping, I don't think hurts. And I think actually can be almost additive because you get to sort of revel in your growing empire and your growing kingdom of stuff. You get to kind of have that. It was always cool when you look back and you're like, I started this game with a character sheet on a note card. Now I have 5 pages of characters. Like, yeah, all of my stuff. And yes, I have to track my armor. I track my arrows of different magical properties. But guess what? You know what that means? That means I got lots of arrows of magical properties, and that's cool. So, I go back and forth. But thanks, Frederick, for sending this away. It was a really fun read. I had not heard of this at all. It was definitely, he got it to me on drive-thru, and I put the link for it on drive-thru. I'm not sure if this is a Kickstarter or anything else, but it is available on drive-thru. I don't remember. I saw the price this morning. I think it was on sale, and you can get your hands on hardcover, or I don't know if hardcover, but physical copies. Though I just have the PDF. So Carrie says, this seems great for one-shots for sure, but yeah, I want something more defined for progression in a campaign. Yep, I mean, I'm sure it can be done. Frederick's already says he's added a system in there. I'd be love to see what that is. I don't know if there's any actual plays or anything to look at, but it might be neat to kind of see more about it. But yeah, this is a fun time. Definitely a different way of doing it, but I think you still get a pretty good, at least OSR adjacent sort of sword and sorcery vibe. The spell casting is really intriguing. I unfortunately kind of had to breeze through there, but you notice there were no spell lists. You're basically picking what kind of sorcerer you are, and it seemed like part of it was kind of picking how your spells fire, blasts, and other things, and maybe a little bit about the type of spell like necromancer. So there's I think there's some neat things in there. I know there are a couple of, I forget the name, some book came out, or a zine came out with some different spell casting stuff. I still really like Barbarians of Lemuria's spell casting, but I bet you could do something with this and kind of combine them with this kind of EZD6 system if you wanted to. Anyhow, that's all I got for today. If you could give a thumbs up on your way out, that would be awesome. Apologies to the Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch folks. If anyone is ever in there, just Melon. It's not my fault. It was Melon's fault today that it was not working. So I did what I could to get up and running as quickly as possible. So this one's only on YouTube. So, but of course, if you're watching this, you're on YouTube, so you know that already. All right, guys, I got to run. Have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. If you give a thumbs up on your way out, that's awesome. If you feel like subscribing and you're not subscribed already, that would also be awesome. Other than that, game on, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.